Hi friends, it's the Evolving Guys here. Welcome back to the channel. This is an exciting video in many ways because I'm going to talk about our Master Set Challenge for Temporal Forces, sort of our final update. And how did we do? We started off, as you can see on the slide here, April 10th was the first video in this series. Almost 6 weeks later, May 20th, we're going to update you. How close did we come to turning a booster box case of Temporal Forces into a master set of Temporal Forces cards? So as a reminder, when we started this challenge, it came from my interest in collecting master sets. I try to collect master sets, at least of modern Pokemon cards, Sword and Shield, and now Scarlet and Violet eras. And so here we have this opportunity. I've done it in different ways at different times, and with just starting the channel in April, one of my first ideas of a video series was to follow the journey of building a master set of Temporal Forces. And this particular way we were going to do it is to buy a booster box case, an entire booster box case, so 6 booster boxes, a total of 216 packs, and to see how close we can get to turning that into a master set. We knew, of course, that we're not going to pull every card, but that's the first step, is to open 216 packs and to see how close we can get. And then can we sell the stuff that we don't need, or the duplicates or the trainers, and can we turn that then into the cards that we need to complete the master set? So that's what the update today is. It's our kind of our final tally of where we landed and how close we came. So you can see here we spent $593, about $2.75 per pack. I'll talk in a second about what a master set would cost if we just bought it using singles. But first, just as a refresher for those who haven't been following these videos, or if you're still new to Pokemon, Temporal Forces is the current set that's available. Scarlet and Violet is the series. Temporal Forces is the set. There are 218 cards in Temporal Forces. It breaks down, as you see on the screen, 71 common cards, 55 uncommons, 14 regular rares, 15 double rares, 22 illustration rares, 18 ultra rares, 10 special illustration rares, 6 hyper rares, 7 A-spec rares. And then if you add in, so that's the 218 cards for the main set. For some people, they consider it not a complete master set until you have all the reverse holos. So if you add in the 140 reverse holos, then by my count, it's 358 total cards to have a complete master set of Temporal Forces. So I mentioned, for a lot of people, they just open some packs and then buy singles, and that certainly makes sense. That's how I've often done it when it comes to building master sets or trying to get close to master sets. So just for point of comparison, as best as I could kind of tell using TCG Player Market Price, when we started this challenge in March, it was about $691 to complete a master set. I checked about a month later. Well, checked a week or so later. The price actually had gone up to complete a master set. Again, if you're just buying singles, and this includes the reverse holo prices for the commons and uncommons. Probably the true cost of a master set is actually a little bit more than what you're seeing here. But this does include the reverse holos, but not necessarily all the regular costs. So I would guess maybe the real cost is maybe $10 or $15 more than this, in fact. And then I just checked in preparation for this video. And as of a couple of days ago, the 17th of May, it would be basically where it kind of was in the end of March. It would be about $700 to complete a master set if you were just buying the single cards at TCG Player Market Price. So we put $600, a little less than $600 into our booster box case. So we're going to see how close we get and if we would have been better off just buying singles with our $600. But seeing here that our $600 would not get us there either, at least right now. So first, this was in a previous video, but just to update you, we opened 6 booster boxes, and after those 6 booster boxes, this is where we stood as far as rarity goes. So you can see that, and we knew this kind of early on if you've been following these videos, all the commons, all the uncommons, all the regular rares and double rares, we had those pretty early in the process. I think maybe even after the second, or certainly by the third booster box, we had pulled all of those. The challenge, of course, and we knew this going in, was going to be, how is our luck going to be about these other harder to pull rarities? And so you can see in the end, we pulled 16 of 22 illustration rares. We pulled 11 of the 18 ultra rares. We pulled 4 of the 10 special illustration rares. We pulled only 1 of 6 hyper rares, which was maybe the most surprising thing. Those were the hardest for us to pull. We pulled at least 1 of each of the A-spec cards, and we pulled all but 1 of the reverse holo cards. So if you add up what we're missing after 6 booster boxes, and this is just based on what we pulled from the 216 packs, we were missing 24 cards, and it's 25 technically if you count the one reverse holo that we were missing. So to be more specific about what we were missing, we were missing 6 illustration rares. It was these 6 cards: Arbok, Deerling, Relicanth, Lickitung, Minccino, and Shiftry. We were missing 7 ultra rares: the Gengar EX, the Airy, Gouging Fire EX, Bianca's Devotion, Iron Boulder EX, Morty's Conviction, and Wug Trio EX. We were missing 6 illustration rares: Morty's Conviction, and these are in order of value: Morty's Conviction, Walking Wake EX, Bianca's Devotion, Airy, Iron Boulder EX, and Salvatore. And we were missing 5 hyper rares: Iron Crown EX, Raging Bolt EX, Iron Leaves EX, Walking Wake EX, and Gouging Fire EX. And for those who have followed this series closely, which I know a few of you have, I'm not including here what we pulled out of the Build and Battle display. I did do a special bonus video where we opened a Build and Battle display, but for the sake of the original challenge with just looking at a booster box, I've excluded the cards we pulled from the Build and Battle display from what I'm showing you here. So we did pull a few extra cards in that we could add to the master set, but in this case, I just want to kind of stick with our original challenge to see how close, with just a booster box case investment, how close we would get. So if you look at what it would cost to purchase these cards that we're missing, so you can see the illustration rares, there are again 6 remaining that we didn't pull. The total cost for those 6 cards would be $21 just to buy them at TCG Player Market price. The ultra rares, 7 of those, they cost about $27. Of course, we've always known the special illustration rares, the most valuable cards in the set. The perhaps most, not as difficult to pull, in fact, as the hyper rares, at least in our experience, but still, we pulled 4 of 10, which I feel like in some ways is pretty good. And we pulled some of the more valuable ones, which really helps our cause, but we still were missing 6 of those. And the total cost of those 6 cards is over $200. You can see there's also the 5 hyper rares. Those are harder to pull, but a little bit less valuable. To buy all 5 of the remaining ones would cost about $65. So the total cost of purchasing the 24 cards that remain is about $320. Now, this number at the bottom of your screen, the 175.31, that is the amount of money that we've earned by reselling the things from the booster box that we did not need for the master set. So this includes, of course, duplicates of any of the kind of better cards, the illustration rares, ultra rares, special illustration rares, and hyper rares. Well, we didn't have any double hyper rares, A-spec cards. So anything we pulled that we didn't need, that we already had one of, we would resell. And then on top of that, there's actually quite a bit I've found, been pleasantly surprised. I've been trying to squeeze as much value as I can out of this. So we've been putting play sets together of not just trainers, but even some of the common and uncommon cards that are useful, like the Minccino cards. I've been back packaging those in groups of 4. Again, because we open so many packs, we have a lot of the commons and uncommons, a lot of duplicates. And so those play sets have actually been moving pretty well. The Dunsparce, for example, is another good one. We sold several of those sets. And so by packaging those up and selling them, that has really helped drive this value up. And then also, I've mentioned in previous videos that we make and sell our own homemade packs. And so that's a way to really stretch the value, where we can put just like a simple double rare that might be worth $1 or $2, package that with some bulk cards, some commons and uncommons, and then sell that for a little bit more than we'd get if we just sold the single cards. And a few of you I know who are watching the channel have inquired about what those packs are like. So I'll probably have a video in the future where I'll talk a little bit more about our resale process. And I'd be really interested to compare it to any of you who try to resell using eBay, or if you resell things locally. So our total earnings, as of May 20th, this is like we just had a sale tonight. Actually, I have a 4-pack of Minccino. And so this is as of May 20th. So for our 6-week experiment, we were able to bring back $175 in things that we resold. And so the question, of course, is, what do we do with this? And I've talked to a few of you who I know are watching the videos, and maybe some of you have thoughts on this. Is, one philosophy is, as you can see here, $175 wouldn't even buy the 6 special illustration rares that we need, and then that would still leave all the other cards. On the other hand, if we decided to stretch it and maximize the number of cards that we can buy with this, we could buy all the illustration rares, all the ultra rares, all the hyper rares, and then probably maybe an illustration rare or 2 on top of that. And so It's a question of, do you go top down, start with the most expensive cards and work your way down? Do you start the bottom up, or maybe a little bit of both? And in fact, that's what I've done, is a little bit of both. So I've used this money over the last couple weeks as we've been bringing it in to start acquiring the cards that we need to complete our master set. I first went to some of my local card stores because I wanted to buy from them and see if they had the cards on hand. And actually, one of the interesting things I found is that many of the card stores said they have not had many people bringing in Temporal Forces to sell back to the stores. And I think maybe that's a testament to the set not being as popular. I really don't have a strong sense of whether this is I know it's not maybe a very top set in Scarlet and Violet. I know people in general are really right now seem to be focusing on Sword and Shield as far as their collections go, but it just was a little bit surprising that it was pretty difficult for me to find cards at my local card store. So I had to turn to TCG Player. That's where I usually buy things. I know some people prefer eBay. I actually sell on eBay, but I buy on TCG Player when I'm buying cards for my own collection. We can talk maybe in other videos about my reasons for that, or the pros and cons. And I'd be curious, where you either sell and or buy your cards. And so this is what I managed to pick up as of this recording. So the illustration rares, I did buy all 6 that were missing for a total of about $20. I bought the 7 ultra rares that were missing for a total of about $26. I bought the 5 hyper rares that were missing for a total of about $64. And so I do, even though, I don't know, for me, just having that volume is nice, to buy, to just check that box. We have all the illustration rares now. We have all the ultra rares now. We have all the hyper rares now. Now, the trick is then, because we're spending money in that area, it means our money's not going to go as far when it comes to the special illustration rares. But I did want to make some dent in the special illustration rares, and we did have a little bit of money left. And what I decided to do was do, in some ways, a little bit of both, as far as, the philosophy of both working from the top down or the bottom up. And I did actually both. So Morty's Conviction is the most valuable, is the most valuable special illustration rare that we did not pull. It was a little less than $50. And so I decided first to buy that. And because, the chances of pulling it, maybe not high. And I think it just something psychological about just, knocking that most expensive card remaining off the list. And then with the money we had left, we didn't have enough to buy the next most valuable card. And so I worked my way up from the bottom and found, well, what's the least expensive special illustration rare? And that right now is Salvatore. And so the two of those cards together is about $60. And you can see here, if you add up all these rows here, the illustration rares, the ultra rares, the hyper rares, and these 2 special illustration rares, that total comes to about $170. And we had, going into this or coming out of this, about $175 to spend. So where does that leave us when it comes to the actual collection? Is we're able to fill in, remember we were missing, and the Salvatore reverse hollow, we did pull it in the build and battle display, but it only cost about 20 cents. I didn't put that on the list, but we did pick up a copy of that through TCG Player as well. So where does that leave us? Is missing these 4 cards. We're missing the Walking Wake EX. We're missing Bianca's Devotion. We're missing the Airy and the Iron Boulder EX. The total of these 4 cards is about $122. So that's what we are short as far as, turning our booster box case into a master set. We are 4 cards short. Now I have this $42 up here in the corner, and I put that there is because a lot of the cards that I just mentioned buying through TCG Player, this goes back to, one of my early videos was talking about my strategy in buying cards. And I think it really pays to be as savvy as you can. There's often deals and just little kind of ways that you can work the system. And so TCG Player, just last on Friday, they occasionally will run specials where members, and I'm a member, so I pay a relatively small membership fee to be part of TCG Player's membership program. But then you have access occasionally to these special deals where they'll give you a kickback or a percentage of what you spend back in store credit. And so they had one of those. They haven't actually done one of those in quite a while, but they just had one on Friday. It was 10%, I think, for all people, and then subscribers got 13% back. And so with what I spent on the other cards, and I bought some other cards for my collection, which I'll talk about in a different video. But with what I spent on TCG Player, I'm estimating, it actually hasn't registered. It takes them a little while to process the refund or the rebate. But I'm estimating that I'm going to get back around $40 just in kind of store credit from what I spent in getting these cards. And so the nice thing here is that I'm going to take that $42, and that's, as you can see here, just about the cost of the Walking Wake EX. And so I think I can kind of turn that into one of these 4 cards and still kind of be within the scope of the Master Set Challenge. And then that will just leave me these 3 remaining cards, $30, $28, and $21 each. And even though I'm sort of officially ending the Master Set Challenge with this video, of course, I still have some cards that we pulled that are still for sale, including a few cards that might bring in at least some value. And so especially the Prime Catcher is the main one. That's over $20 card right now. The rest of these cards are much less than that, but because there's still several of them, you can see these are all ones that are still listed for sale on my eBay store. And presumably at some point in the near future, hopefully they will sell. And so I'm estimating that when I sell all of these, if you go back to the previous list, so, I mean, at the very least, I'm hoping that I can pick up one additional special illustration rare with what I'm able to make in selling these remaining cards from the set. And potentially, I mean, depending on how Prime Catcher does, I mean, I could, again, maybe get Bianca's Devotion. I think it might be a stretch to think that I could get Airy and Iron Boulder together. Those cards are about $50. I probably don't have $50 of stuff. I do have a lot of play sets and trainers still for sale. They haven't been moving quite. Some of them move really well, and other ones have been sitting there for a while, which is probably an indication that they're not as valuable in the trading card game. But the trading card game is always evolving too. And so, fingers crossed that I still actually have a little bit of opportunity to sell some additional cards and to make this all work. But I feel pretty good about where we landed. So we did take a $600 booster box case, and let's actually go to this slide. So this is kind of where we ended up. If you look on the left-hand side, you have, based on the collector app, which is what I use to track my own collection, you can see, of course, we ended up with 99% complete, 215 of the 218 cards. Again, if you count the Walking Wake EX, which I plan to pick up with the store credit that I earned from TCG Player for the purchases I made in buying the other cards to complete the master set, if that all makes sense. And you can see that those 215 cards, and that includes, for cards that do have a reverse holo variant, it includes both the regular and the reverse holo, and then all of the additional like ultra rare cards. Those 215 cards plus their corresponding variants, the total value of that is actually $623. And so I feel pretty good about actually even the value, even though the last couple booster boxes we opened really didn't add a lot to the master set as far as new cards. We were able to turn around a lot of the stuff that we were pulling, the duplicates, and again, even the trainers and commons and uncommons, we were able to turn those around into other cards. And so, in some ways we got more than our money back for our $600 investment. We have a collection now that's worth $623, and we'll probably add one more card. And so we'll probably have a collection. That card is worth, about $40. And so we'll probably actually have a collection that's worth more than we paid for the booster box. And if you look overall, remember, if you add in the reverse holos, we're just 3 cards short, 355 of 358 cards, or 99%. And again, I feel really good about this. This counts, again, everything we pulled, but then it's also the ingenuity. And again, it's not like we're the only ones who do this, but to resell the things that we could and to invest that back into the set. So with just our initial investment of $600, we ended up 3 cards short and 3 cards away and 99% complete of our master set. So where does that leave us? Well, I'm excited because, of course, as many of you know, if you're following the hobby, the new set, Twilight Masquerade, comes out at the end of this week. And so in a way, we get to start this, and I'm excited to start this all over again. But I have a slightly different approach this time, just for comparison. Again, this is all for fun and for experimentation. So you can see this is the progress we made by booster box. And as I mentioned just a few seconds ago, of course, it makes sense that the deeper we got into our booster boxes, the less likely we were to pull things that we still needed. And you can see progress is pretty fast, 68% after the first booster box, then jump up to 75, then jump up to 83. But then it only went up to 85 with the fourth booster box, only up to 88 with the fifth booster box, and only up 1 percentage point, 89, with the sixth booster box. So again, even though we did pull things we could resell, and as you saw in the previous slide, I think we actually netted out pretty well. We actually got more back than we put into it as far as the master set goes. But still, the progress really slowed. And so the idea that I have for Twilight Masquerade, because it seems like that fourth booster box is sort of that magic place where you still, up through that fourth booster box, you're still adding value to the set. So what I'm going to do instead of buying a booster box case is I'm going to order a sleeved booster case, so a sleeve blister case. So these sleeve blisters, there's a picture of which is here, they come in cases of 144. So you get 144 packs. They're all in these sleeved. So it's not quite the same as a booster box. We sometimes think in terms of booster box as far as like what you're getting in one booster box. Like, are you guaranteed a special illustration rare or 2A specs or whatever? That's not going to be the case, but that's going to be really interesting. We can compare our pull rates roughly the same across 144 packs of Twilight Masquerade individual packs versus if we were to open 4 booster boxes of the same set, or at least in this case, we're looking at Temporal Forces compared with Twilight Masquerade. So that's the plan for the next challenge, is we're going to open the equivalent of 4 booster boxes of Twilight Masquerade sleeved booster packs, and we're going to see where we are, and we're going to have the same process. Then we can resell things, and we can also think about in terms of, we spent $600 on our booster box case for Temporal Forces. We're going to spend about $400 on these 144 packs. So our initial investment is $200 less. So if we end up in a different place, we could still spend a little bit out of that if we're thinking in terms of what did we spend to finish Temporal Forces versus what are we going to spend to hopefully finish Twilight Masquerade. So that's going to be something to look forward to. We're going to jump into that in a couple weeks. Those haven't shipped yet, of course, because we're still, the set hasn't officially released. So as soon as those are able to be shipped out, we'll update you. So please follow along, continue to follow our Master Set challenges. And thanks for following this Temporal Forces Master Set challenge. I'm pretty happy with how we ended up. We still have these 3 cards that we're going to track down, and I'll keep you posted. Maybe if we do find those, or maybe even if we sell some additional stuff, there can be an update or two to this Master Set challenge. But for the purposes of the challenge itself, the 6-week Master Set challenge from April 10th to May 20th, today is our final day, and happy to report 99% complete, 3 cards left, and more value in our Master Set than we actually paid for the booster box case. So it all really worked out well. Thanks very much for following. Take care. We'll see you soon.